My name is Michael Tillman. I'm 45 years of age.
How long were you in the penitentiary?
23 and a half years.
How did the detectives treat you over the next 4 days that you were in custody at the Area 2?
Well, they tortured me. They beat me up. They hit me upside the head with a phone book. They put a gun to my head. They put a plastic bag over my head repeatedly. I hate talking about this. They put a gun into my head. They put a plastic bag over my head repeatedly. I was hit in the leg with a flashlight. I was smacked upside the head with a phone book. I was punched in the stomach, made me vomit blood. They poured 7-Up down my nose.
All right. Now, did you come to identify any of the detectives that were involved in this torture?
Yes.
Could you tell us who they were?
Buffo, Digman, Euclides, Hines, and Patton.
Now, you say that some detectives put a plastic bag over your head. Is that right?
Yes.
Who were the detectives who did that?
Digman went and got the plastic bag, and Euclides placed it over my head.
And how many occasions did they do this?
3 times.
And what happened, and how did you feel when this happened to you?
I didn't feel right. I felt like I was going to die.
Now, you said also that they poured some liquid up your nose.
7-Up pop.
And could you describe for us how that happened?
They held my hands out, and they held my head back and poured the pop down my nose.
And how did that feel? What sensation did it give you? When
It
you said you
burned.
vomited blood, is that right?
Yes.
Did you have any other bleeding during this ordeal?
I had a nosebleed.
All right. And was there evidence of blood from your nosebleed?
Yes.
Where was that?
On the floor of the interrogation room,
Right.
and on my clothes.
All right. And was that there for? Could others see that? That
Yes.
blood? Now, how long did this torture go on for?
From Sunday to Thursday.
And during that period of time, were you permitted to see a lawyer?
No.
Were you permitted to see your family?
No.
Did you later learn whether your family or a lawyer had tried to see you?
I didn't learn until my attorney came down to the lockup place where they get ready to ship you to Cook County.
All right. And what did you learn when your lawyer came down to see you?
That they were there the first day, and they told them I wasn't there.
Right.
The police told them I wasn't there.
And was there also, did you talk to your family after the torture ended?
I talked to them when they came to visit me in the Cook County jail.
And did they tell you whether they had tried to find you?
Yes, they did.
What did they say?
They said the police said I wasn't there.
Now, did you ever sign a written confession?
No.
Did you at some point tell them after they tortured you that you'd tell them anything that they wanted to hear?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did a state's attorney come into the room?
Yes.
And what happened then?
He asked me did I want to tell him what happened.
And what did you say?
I don't know what happened.
Did you, okay. And did you sign a statement for him?
No.
Could he see the blood that was on you at that time?
Yes.
Was it clear? Tell me, do you believe that he knew that you had been tortured?
Yes, he knew. Because the average person, if you're sitting in front of him, you're going to say, well, what happened to you? He didn't ask me what happened. Because he see what happened. He know what happened. With Jack Hines standing back there, the detective, in the room, why is he in there with me and the state's attorney anyway?
Did you have a co-defendant that was also arrested taken into custody about the same time you were?
Yes.
And what was his name?
Stephen Bell.
And did you later learn what had happened to Stephen Bell while he was in custody?
Yes.
And what happened to him, to the best of your knowledge?
He was beat up too and hit with a phone book.
Now, earlier, we were sitting in here, and you saw something that got you quite upset. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Was it this cover that upset you?
Yes.
And you want to tell us why, seeing that, glancing over there and happening to see that over on the side, why that upset you?
Because it brought back flashbacks of when they kept repeatedly putting it over my head.
Okay. And does this look like what they put over your head?
Yes, but it was gray, and it was thick like this, too. Yeah.
So this is a similar
bag.
Bag to the one that...
With the same texture. Yes,
Plastic.
you can't even bite through this. Because they have it so close to your mouth, like a stocking, you can't even open your mouth.
What happened during that trial? What was the finding of the judge?
He found me guilty of murder, aggravated sexual assault, rape, a burglary.
Okay. And what did the state's attorney who was in the courtroom do with regard to the sentence that they asked to impose on you?
Well, they asked for the death penalty.
And were you in court when that happened?
Yes.
And how did you feel when you heard that?
I was shocked. I was, how can you put it? I'm trying to find the right word. Stunned, paralyzed.
And were you sentenced that day when they announced they were seeking the death penalty, or on a different day?
I was sentenced on a different day because I had a death penalty hearing.
Right. And what happened at the death penalty hearing?
Well, the judge found me eligible for death.
And did you at every opportunity tell people that you were innocent of this crime?
Yes.
Did anybody listen to you back then?
Only my family.
Now, when you were sentenced, what were you sentenced to?
Natural life plus 45 years with no possibility of parole.
Could you tell us how it felt to be an innocent man with a life sentence with no possibility of parole, convicted of a heinous crime of murder and rape?
How did I feel?
Yeah.
That's hard to describe how I felt. I was mad. I was angry, and I was also sad because this happened to me, and I didn't do anything. You understand?
Did you have a family when you went to penitentiary?
Yes, I had a son and a daughter.
How old was your son?
He was 3 months old or a month old. I'm not for sure. He was a month old. Yes, he was a month old.
And your daughter? How old was she?
3.
She was 3 years old. How often did you get to see your son and your daughter those 23 and a half years you were in the penitentiary?
I only seen my son and daughter once.
One time.
Yes.
How often did you get to see your mother?
My mom and dad came down to see me every chance they got.
Okay.
Once a month.
Once a month. Were you able to participate in any way in the bringing up of your children?
No.
Were your children able to have any contact with you other than that one time that they came to see you?
No.
Could you tell us what it was like to be in that prison? What did you suffer through during the prison time?
I suffered through depression all the time. I relived everything that the police did to me constantly. You see it on TV, I see it in my mind. I lived it. So I know what they're going through.
Did you relive your torture while you're in the
Yes,
penitentiary?
yes,
How frequently would you relive it?
often. Every July 21st when I got arrested, I wouldn't want to be bothered. Even to this day, on July 21st, I sat alone.
How often did you feel this depression?
Every day I woke up
And
because I was in there for something I didn't do.
Now, did you have problems sleeping while you were in the penitentiary?
Yes, I'm still having problems today.
Right, and could you describe those for us?
I can only sleep 3 hours and I'm up. I get up at 12:30 or 12:45 every day to this day and be up until 9 o'clock
Now, 12:45 p.m. or a.m.?
a.m.
Okay, so you wake up in the middle of the night,
and I be up until about 9 o'clock
and then you doze back to sleep for a while?
and then get right back up at 12:30.
Okay. Now, in the penitentiary, did you have the same problem sleeping?
Yes, I had the same problem.
Did you have any nightmares about what had happened to you?
I see it every day in my mind. Every day. Every time I see the police, I don't want to be by the police.
Do you have any medical problems now that you can connect to the penitentiary?
I still institutionalized.
Okay, why don't you describe that to us?
Well, for instance, I have some dogs, and I always tell them, go to your cell by accident. You know, what I mean to say is go to your cage.
Right.
It's the same thing, though.
Okay. How about in terms of being paranoid or feeling scared in times?
Always. I don't go anywhere. I don't feel comfortable.
You want to stay at home?
I stay at home. I do stay at home. That's why no one sees me.
Do you ever hear noises that make you afraid or startled or scare you in a way that you don't really understand why?
Well, I can put it like this. I can't sleep in silence. I got to have the radio or the TV going because I'm so used to being in the penitentiary and hearing loud noises, loud talking all night, that if it be quiet where I'm at, I have to tell them, please turn something on. Turn something on. I can't sit in silence. It reminds me of the police station, being in an interrogating room, and all you can hear is the lights buzzing. You understand?
Could you tell us what you missed with regard to your children and your family for those 23 and a half years you're in the penitentiary?
I miss watching my daughter and my son grow up. I miss my daughter's operation. She had her leg broke 3 times because she got cerebral palsy and she never was supposed to walk.
And anything else that with regard to your family?
My mom and dad spent their life savings trying to get me out because they knew I was innocent. They didn't age, they old. You know, they didn't change. I had to get to know them all over again.
You okay?
Get the fly.
Oh, is that bothering
Yeah.
you?
It's okay.
All right, you okay now? Yeah. Is your when you came out of the penitentiary, how did you feel in relationship to the world around you, yourself, and in relationship to that world?
I felt strange. Like I didn't want to talk to the reporters because you asking me questions about how do you feel? How would you feel? You know, getting out. And then you got to adapt to everything that had changed over decades. I'm still adjusting. Wait a minute. Do you know what it's like not being able to do nothing? That you got to have somebody to show you how to do this, to show you how to do that. I had an 8-year-old show me how to use a microwave. I had an 8-year-old teach me how to use a phone. people talk and I don't understand what they're talking about because I've been gone so long. So I just listen. I just listen. I learn from listening. I don't ask questions. I listen. Everything changed. Cars. Everything. The technology. I got a brand new computer and still don't know how to use it. I've been trying to learn. And it's kind of difficult, but I'm learning. It's crazy. They messed my life up. Yeah, they did. They took me out of society for a mistake that they made and didn't want to admit they made the mistake. But it backfired, right? It backfired. I'm here. I made it out safely. Thanks to God and y'all. You know, I could have been killed in there. I'm around hardened criminals in a maximum penitentiary. In a maximum penitentiary. Murderers, rapists, con men, all kind of people. And me, I'm just sitting there. Oh, what you in here for? I'm in here for murder, rape, and kidnapping that I didn't even do. Yeah, that's what they all say. That's what people say. But they see now, I wasn't lying. But just to be in that place, knowing I'm innocent, it was messed up. Because every day I'm living, am I ever going to get out of here? Am I ever going to get out of here? I was to the point that I just said, gave up because didn't nobody want to take my case. Everybody was shying away from my case as if somebody told me, leave that alone. Don't mess with that case. You're going to stir up something, you know? And it did. It stirred up something now. The skeletons out the closet. They've been in the closet, but they've been out the closet. But now it's all coming together, you know?
Now, as you know, your case has been the first case that's established that Mayor Daley can be a defendant.
Yeah.
And that we're going to be able to, even though they're fighting it tooth and nail, to be able to question him about all that he did. If you, what kind of questions would you ask him if you were sitting in that room, being able to look at him face to face?
I would ask him, you review my case. How can y'all, or you allow them to convict me on circumstantial evidence when I don't have anybody saying I've done anything but the Chicago police? And all of them been named in torture cases. All of them been named in torture cases before I even knew this. And you take sides. I guess my word don't mean nothing. It's the police against me. That's how it was. And I couldn't win because they believe the police over me. So that just showed me what the system is all about. My word ain't nothing.
Now, in 1982, did you have an occasion to talk to the state's attorney of Cook County, Richie Daley, about the allegations of police torture made against you by either Melvin Jones or Andrew Wilson?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And did he ask you about evidence of physical injury on Andrew Wilson?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment.
Is your invocation of the Fifth Amendment here and at previous times a part of the honoring of the police code of silence?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
In fact, you gave false denials in those interrogatories, did you not, in December of 2006, including the denial that you tortured or abused Tillman and Bell?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And you're now taking the Fifth Amendment as to that question because you feel that if you answer it now, you would again subject yourself to perjury and obstruction of justice. Isn't that right?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
In fact, Mr. Burge, the reason that detectives have not come forward until recently and talked about the torture and abuse at Area 2 because there was a code of silence within the police department, and particularly at Area 2 under your command.
I will assert my Fifth Amendment
And
right.
in fact, were you referring to you and your fellow officers when you said that people lie all the time in interrogatories, depositions, and trials in civil matters?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
In fact, have you lied with impunity in the civil matters that you have been called to testify, including the Cannon case, the Patterson case, and now the Tillman case?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that
Testified
question.
under oath at that motion or motions to suppress in front of Judge Gillis, didn't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And in fact, sir, you gave false and perjurious testimony at that motion to suppress hearing, didn't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
In the 1980s, starting in March of 1982, when you were brought over by Burge, you, from almost the beginning, were one of the sergeants that was in charge of the midnight crew or the midnight shift. Isn't that right?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
Now, this midnight crew was also known internally, was it not, as the ass kickers or Burge's ass kickers.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
In fact, is it fair to say, as you have in the past, that you became John Burge's right-hand man at Area 2?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that
In fact,
question.
the interrogations that the midnight crew did of suspects that they brought into the Area 2 were done under the supervision of and according to the principles of John Burge. Isn't that right?
I'll invoke the Fifth
Now, in
Amendment.
fact, you used the term nigger on the job and off the job, didn't you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And you have in the past admitted that you yourself used that term, right?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that
And
question.
you and Dignan have both admitted that you heard Burge use that term as well. Isn't that right?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that
Sit
question.
here and still tell us that, in fact, the torture of over 112 African American men at Area 2 and later at Area 3 was not racist?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
You used the term nigger in your discussion with other detectives concerning black people.
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And did you observe or yourself use the word or term nigger or other derogatory terms for black persons during interrogations while you were either at Area 2 or later at Area 3?
I will assert my Fifth
Now,
Amendment.
sir, you have previously testified and admitted, have you not, that you used the term nigger over 100 times. Is that right?
I'll invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
And that you used that term not only with your fellow officers, but during interrogations and arrests from time to time. Isn't that correct?
I'll invoke my Fifth
I
Amendment.
want to ask you, sir, is this similar to a cover that was at Area 2 in the 1980s that could and was used to suffocate individuals?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
All right. And in fact, have you ever seen a cover similar to this plastic cover at Area 2 while you worked there?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And did you, in fact, ever use a cover similar to this in your interrogation of any suspects at Area 2 during the 1970s or 1980s?
I'll invoke
Now,
the Fifth Amendment.
in the early 1970s, did you have any kind of electrical device that was in a box or any kind of container?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And did you have an electrical device that was some form of electrical generator?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And did you have some kind of electrical device that had a crank, like a telephone, a field telephone that they used in Vietnam?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
Now, during this 2 or 3 days of interrogation that you participated in with regard to Michael Tillman, you, in fact, at some point brought a plastic bag into the room where he was being interrogated.
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And at that time was Detective Bothell was also present, was he not?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And either you or he placed a plastic bag over Mr. Tillman's head in order to cut off his air supply, didn't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Now, you had been accused in other cases, you and others in the Midnight Crew, of using plastic bags and typewriter covers and putting them over suspects' heads, hadn't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And in fact, this is something that you and your fellow officers did in order to get confessions from people, didn't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And that's why you did it with regard to Michael Tillman. You were attempting to get a confession from him, weren't you?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And did you also, sir, hit Mr. Tillman with a flashlight?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
In fact, during this series of interrogations of Mr. Tillman over the next few days, you became aware that he had blood on him from a nosebleed.
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And you knew that, in fact, that blood came from his nose, not from a nosebleed itself, but from brutality that was invoked against him. Isn't that right?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
And in fact, you were present, were you not, and participated in the pouring of 7-Up up his nose at some point.
I'll invoke the Fifth
Did you
Amendment.
participate in or witness the brutalization of Mr. Bell, which included beating, hitting with a telephone book, kicking, and other forms of brutality?
I'll invoke the Fifth
In
Amendment.
fact, you did see blood on the interrogation room floor, didn't you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And in fact, you knew that Tillman had been abused by your fellow Midnight Crew detectives, didn't you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And you knew that their statements were false and were subject of police torture and abuse, didn't you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And you knew, sir, did you not, that none of the physical evidence that your reinvestigation had developed was in any way connected to either Tillman or Bell, but was rather connected to other unrelated suspects. Isn't that right?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege to not answer that question.
And, sir, are you aware, as supervising sergeant, that Trotter was charged with the crime?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
But, sir, as a supervising sergeant involved in the investigation, you knew at that point that, in fact, Tillman and Bell were innocent of the crime, didn't you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
But you made no effort to bring that fact forward as a supervising sergeant at Area 2, did you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer that question.
And in fact, it was torture and abuse practiced by Byrne and his men on the midnight shift, starting in 1982 when he came there.
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And specifically, was there baggings of individuals with paper bags, with typewriter covers, plastic bags, anything that was used to simulate suffocation by putting them over a person's or a suspect's head?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And in fact, when did John Byrne, Peter Dignan, and others on the midnight shift use such devices?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And if they used such devices, were they using them at your direction?
I will assert my Fifth
Was the
Amendment.
bagging of Michael Tillman done pursuant to the policy and practice at Area 2 under your command, Judge?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
Was there such a policy at Area 2 under your command to interrogate, to use physical coercion against suspects?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And was there a policy and practice at Area 2 of using electric shock tactics to get statements from suspects at Area 2?
I will assert my Fifth Amendment right.
And in fact, was it part of the pattern in practice, or the intent of this pattern in practice, to obtain confessions and admissions from suspects who were charged with serious crimes in Area 2.
I'll assert my Fifth Amendment
To your
right.
knowledge, did the State's Attorney of Cook County, Richard Daley, have knowledge of the pattern and practice of torture at Area 2?
I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.